Hey, Pretty Girl Club, welcome back to the Dark Femininity series. Be sure to get my Dark Femininity course, it is linked in the description. But ever since I started talking about privileges and privilege stacking and hierarchy thinking, I've noticed that some women get very triggered, and it's like, why do you care about what her privileges are? Seriously, why do you care so much about what another woman thinks of herself? Why do you care so much about what her privileges are or how many privileges she has? Oh, what? So you can compare yourself? Oh, what? So you can place her on a hierarchy? That's the only reason why you would care. Like, I don't go around counting white women's privileges or like, oh, okay, so let's see, she's blonde or she's skinny, she's rich. Okay, one, two, three, four, five, and then how many privileges do I have? One, two, three, four, five. I really feel like the message on this channel, it's definitely not for everyone. Because there are some women where it's like you can't save them. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. I am way too self-centered and self-focused to even think in my mind how many privileges does she have in comparison to me. First of all, privilege really can't be quantified. So that's one thing that people have to understand. Like, let's talk about white privilege, for example. Just because somebody is white, it doesn't mean that they're automatically going to live a privileged life. I've noticed that a lot of people, when they talk about white privilege, sometimes I feel like it almost gets into stereotyping whiteness equaling wealth. And it's like, no, there are still people who are white, but maybe they're homeless, or, like you could have one privilege, but then you have something else that's canceling it out. This is another thing people don't realize. There are certain aspects of your life or aspects of your personality that can cancel out your privileges anyway. So why would I then go and count my privileges compared to somebody else's privileges? A person could have pretty privilege, but they don't have personality privilege. So now their shit doesn't matter because they have a horrible personality. Azalea Banks. You know what I mean? Like, you could be pretty and have a horrible personality that cancels out any opportunities that you were going to have. So it really makes no sense to try to count your privileges compared to somebody else's because everybody has a different mix of privileges. Everybody has a different mix of like gifts, and everybody has a different mix of things that they have to work on or things that could be like working against them. Oh, and that's another thing. What do you think is working against you? Because I've noticed that the women who care about another woman's privileges, usually it's because they think that they have something working against them. For example, my dark skin tone works against me, and so therefore she is more privileged than me because her skin tone is lighter than mine. And it's like, okay, well, that's your problem that you think that your skin tone or hair texture or whatever works against you. That's your personal opinion. There are plenty of women who have a dark skin tone who do not believe it works against them. There are women who have type 4 hair and they don't believe it works against them. In fact, they have alchemized their type 4 hair into being a privilege. Chloe and Halle. Chloe and Halle have utilized their 4C hair to their advantage, and they basically turned it into a privilege because it makes them stand out amongst all the other light-skinned girls. Seriously, how many other girls out there are famous singers who look just like Chloe and Halle? I can't think of anybody else. I can't think of a whole bunch of singers that have type 4 locks and that do all these different creative styles with their locks. I can't think of anybody, actually. But I can think of plenty of exoticals that have type 2 hair, type 3 hair, maybe even an afro or something. But that's another thing. Like, when you're focused so much on another woman's privileges, you can't create your own. You can't create any more of your own privileges, or you can't work on building up the privileges you already have because you're too focused on somebody else's plate. You can't enjoy your food if you're staring at somebody else's plate. You can't eat like how you want to eat if you're focused on how somebody else is eating. And so anytime a woman tells me like, "Oh, I don't know my face shape. I don't know my body shape. I don't know what foundation looks good on me. I don't know anything, positive about myself basically. I don't know how to privilege stack." Okay, well yeah, you definitely struggle with hierarchy thinking, and that's okay. We can work on it. But it's like you definitely struggle with hierarchy thinking because I love myself enough to study myself. Self study is a form of self love. So when we're talking about pretty privilege, for example, I know what kind of hairstyles look good on an oval shaped face. I can tell you all the different ways that I can use my pretty privilege with an oval shaped face. I have no idea what it's like to have a heart shaped face or what type of pretty privilege a heart shaped face has or a square shaped face or a diamond shaped face. I have no idea because that's not my particular face shape. Why would I waste my time studying somebody else's privileges that I don't have or that I'll never have? That's literally one of the biggest wastes of time. And all you're doing is basically you're creating new ways to negatively compare yourself to others. So that's a form of emotional cutting. You know how some people cut themselves, like they practice self harm? Yeah, you are emotionally cutting at that point. You're emotionally harming yourself. If watching my content is emotionally harmful to you, you are emotionally cutting yourself. That is a form of self harm. You should click off this video right now because you are harming yourself. So, constantly like comparing yourself or kind of meditating on how many privileges somebody else has or attempting to count their privileges, I believe that that is a form of emotional cutting. That's a form of emotional self harm. And also, it's a waste of time because all of that energy that you're spending on somebody else, you could have spent that energy on yourself. It's kind of like spending your energy loving a guy who doesn't reciprocate. Like you're literally worshiping that other person by thinking about all their different privileges, thinking about how great it would be to be them, thinking about, oh my God, they're so pretty, so smart, so amazing, whatever, and you're not getting anything in return. I'm all about transmutation. I'm all about alchemy. I'm all about utilizing dark feminine tactics to my advantage. So if something doesn't, if it's not my advantage, then I don't care. Like, I don't care what kind of privileges you have in Canada. I don't live in Canada. Shout out to the Canadians, by the way. I love Canada. But it's like, I'm not going to spend my time studying the tax system in Canada or how they have like socialized healthcare and all that and what it must be like for them to have all these different types of healthcare things available to them versus us in America. Why? Like if I am not benefiting from it, I'm not doing it. That's one of my rules for life. If I ain't benefiting from it, I ain't doing it. If I'm not benefiting from that thought, if a particular thought or emotion doesn't serve me, I'm not going to participate in it. And so a lot of women, they don't know how to control their thoughts. That's really the root of inferiority complexes. Not knowing how to control their own emotions. They're constantly emotionally dysregulated. They don't know how to regulate their own thoughts. This is something that should have been learned in childhood. Learning how to regulate your own emotions. Have you ever noticed that there are some women where you try to help them and like no matter what, it's not good enough? Like no matter what, they literally have a problem for every solution. So this channel offers dozens of solutions to colorism, internalized colorism. Yet there are still people who literally find a problem for every solution. I can't help you. You are going to suffer. I'm just going to be honest. You are going to suffer. Yes, you're correct. Your life does suck. Yes, you are at the bottom. If no matter what a person says, you feel like there's no way to get out of your own shit, then yes, you are absolutely at the bottom and you will stay there. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.